So just talking about that stuff is it's really important to know and understand. But what we're gonna shift our gears on now is we're gonna talk about how you can create MIDI tracks and you can manipulate MIDI files, similar to what we did last session when we are looking at audio, but more specifically looking at the Ableton Instruments panel. Okay, so if you come over here under categories, you'll see a section called Instruments, and in here you're going to find a series of different types of synthesizers to sample-based instruments. Okay, and we're going to take a look at a couple of these, but I'm going to start out with some cool ones that I found earlier that I thought you might enjoy here. And basically what we're looking at is, again, these extensions of .alc, which is an Ableton Live clip, and then the extension .adv or ADG, sorry, that is an Ableton device group. So basically what these two things are, they're actually instruments. One of them has built-in samples, and the other one is a synthesizer engine. More specifically, if you're wondering where I got these sounds from, under the instruments panel, one is from the wavetable instrument that that Ableton has. That's a wavetable synthesizer. And then the other one that we're going to take a look at is a preset from the Drum Rack series. And actually, technically, the pack series that it comes from is under the Beat Tools. So I purposely am only going to be using, for owners of the full Ableton suite, you also have these sounds. So there's nothing exclusive here. This is stuff that you should have access to, and you could do a quick search. Again, for searching in that topic, you can refer back to my overview and layout series on our YouTube page. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and preview these sounds so you can get an idea what they sound like. Here's the first one. Okay, it's called Meditations Chromatic. And then this one right here. So what you're previewing is an actual drum kit. So what I can do, this is how easy it is to load in a drum kit into a MIDI track now, because we're not using audio tracks, not to confuse with these two tracks here. And remember, the key command to open up your own MIDI track is Shift Command T, okay, to open up a MIDI track. And then if you can't remember that, or you're just starting out, and with the key commands, I always try to show you those first. But the manual way, you could just right click anywhere inside here in the session view and then insert a MIDI track. Okay, but the cool thing is that I don't need to do that. If I literally wanted to just click and drag this in anywhere inside here, it will automatically create a MIDI track for me. It will rename the MIDI track title with the kit name, and then we'll load in what you're looking at right now is a custom drum rack with a built-in macro parameter here. Okay, so we get inside under the hood and see all the individual one-shots, and I can trigger them one by one like this. Okay, but I can also, if I don't actually own let's say a third-party MIDI piano keyboard, which would be ideal to have, but let's say you're just starting out and you're only working off your laptop. The good news is that you can also use your keyboard, your laptop keyboard or desktop keyboard. Like I said, M for MIDI, activate that. And if I want, I can actually start triggering notes. But before you start thinking you can just start playing notes, you have to do one other action. Okay, so there's two-part actions. One, M for MIDI to activate, and then part two, you need to arm the track itself. And when you arm something, it's not recording it, it's just letting this action become alive. So when I go ahead and start triggering notes on my laptop keyboard, okay, I'm hitting the A key literally on my laptop, S, and it will cycle through all these tracks, okay, or all these little individual snippets. Now, one thing I would like to point out, okay, and this happens a lot in the beginning when you're getting used to working with either a piano MIDI keyboard or your laptop or desktop computer keyboard, is that sometimes when you hit M for MIDI and you arm your MIDI track and you try to play sounds and nothing's coming out. So I'm hitting A through L, okay, and nothing seems to be triggering. And if you look closely right here in the actual drum kit, you'll see all these little yellow dots flash. That's letting me know that MIDI is activated. But the reason why you're not hearing the kit is because I'm too far out of the keyboard register range, okay? So two other keys that you need to know about when you are trying to trigger certain notes, whether you're going down to -C2 all the way up to C8 on the keyboard register, is the keys of Z and X. What Z will allow you to do is to shift down a full octave. The more you hit Z, you'll shift down further and further down the keyboard register. And then X does the opposite. X will actually shift up a full octave. So really what's happening right now when I try to play notes is that I'm too far out of range. I'm literally one octave away from actually triggering these notes. Now, if I had a giant keyboard in front of me that was, you know, I'm stretching my arms out because I'm trying to represent like an 88 keyboard, let's say 88 keys. Sure, if you play your fingers across the keyboard, inevitably you'll land on the right notes. But because laptop keyboards, or sorry, computer keyboards can't represent 88 keys, that's why you have the Z and X function to get down to where I need to go. So if I hit Z once, watch, I'll hit Z, and now I'm on these notes. Hit Z again, and now I can start on that very first clip. But here's the fun thing about working with Ableton Live clips, is if you're brand new to programming and drumming, let's say you've never drummed before in your life, okay, and you want to study how drum patterns work, that's why Ableton allows you to use these Ableton Live clips. And remember, the Ableton Live clips are in the categories panel here, and you should have, for those of you who have the full suite, you have a lot of options here. But the cool thing is that as I look at the instrument here, I can now turn my attention to the clip itself by double clicking on the clip. And now I can see, and I can open this up, I can see all of the notes that are already being triggered. So this is the preview kit that you've heard, and Ableton does this so it can kind of set you up as a guide to getting started with all these different sounds. So I can hit the spacebar, hit play, okay, or come up here and hit play. Sorry, you actually have to make sure you're on the clip. You can't just hit play without being on the clip itself. So what you're looking at right now is a 2-bar loop. Okay, and the cool thing is that when it comes to MIDI, is that you can say, hey, maybe I want this synth pattern to be deactivated, and the key command for this is 0, so I can actually turn it off if I just want the drums. Okay, turn it back on, hit 0 again. Okay, that's just one sample that in this particular kit that comes with these drums. And let's say, for example, I don't want that tonal bass. I just want the claps, the hi-hats, the vocal hey female sound, and so maybe I want to mute some other parameters, and we can preview these parameters. We can listen to them. If you look at here, you can see all the names of the actual notes, okay? And if I click fold here, it will collapse all the notes that are actually being played. And you also have this little headphone symbol here, this monitoring tool that will allow you to preview all the notes before you commit to any ones that you start triggering inside here.